Hello everyone, today I'm going to show you how to use a 25-ton hydraulic press to remove and install the bearing on this pinion shaft. So first thing we want to do is we want to get the bearing off. We don't want to wreck this bearing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bearing and I'm going to use a bearing removal holder here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this around the bearing. So in order to do that, I need to take and loosen this up on both sides. And I want this to fit around the bearing. So, because this will help us get the bearing off without damaging it. All right, so now I need to tighten this down, and I will need to tighten these down really nice, because I don't want to press on the cage. I want to press on the inner race. So I want to tighten these down. I'm going to use a wrench here and get these good and tight. All right. Now we're going to come over to our press here. And some things to remember about our press is first of all, the controls on this here, we have a return and we have a hold. When I push hold and I push this black button right here, if I look here as it's running, you can see that the ram is coming down. If I hit return, the ram starts to go back up. So, all right, and now the next thing I need to do is I want to take and spread these out. Be careful not to drop them down. And I'm going to go ahead and I'll put my fixture here, my bearing separator fixture, in the press just like that. Now, it's important that you put it in this direction and not this direction. You don't want to press on the bolts here. So, but you want to go ahead, you want to get it in this direction. Okay, line it up. Now I need to bring this up. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to come over here and I'm going to have to go ahead and crank this up. And I'm going to bring this up one more hole until the pins are able to be slid in at the next level. Now, this next step is really important because you got to make sure when you lower this down that there's slack on these cables when you're done. Otherwise, you'll tear that off of there and cause damage to this and possibly injure someone. So, okay. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to take and I'm going to lower this down. I'm going to turn this to the hold position. I'm going to lower this till I'm close to making contact. In which case then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to center it right in there so that it's all centered. All right. Now down below I've got a basket with a towel in there to catch the parts, so that way it can't, it's not going to bounce and hit your foot. Over here I have a chainmail cage, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run this around. This protects you. This is chainmail. This will protect you, so if something does break, it won't injure anybody. Now up above we have a gauge here, and this gauge here, we're going to kind of watch this here. This is the amount of force that's being put onto the pinion shaft itself. So okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to start running this down. Okay, and you can see as I push it, there we go, it fell. All right. So now I have my bearing off of here, and this bearing is in pretty good shape. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this back on now. This is called, when it does not fit onto the shaft, when this diameter of the shaft is larger than the inside diameter of the bearing, this is called an interference fit. All right, so I will need the press to push this back on. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to remove the bearing separator because I don't need this anymore. Okay. Now I'm going to take, and I can kind of slide one of these out of the way. I better set this to return. And now I will need a pressing adapter. Now, I do not want to press on the outside part of this bearing. That will damage, destroy the bearing. If you do that even by accident, you should replace the bearing. What I need to do is I need to press on this inside part of the inside race. So what I do is I got a tube here, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna check that diameter and make sure that's good there, and then make sure it fits over top of your pinion shaft so that it doesn't interfere. The last thing you want to do is accidentally press this on there, because this would be very difficult to get off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place the bearing on there like so, and I'm going to have to go ahead, and I have a feeling this isn't going to want to fit in here. Nope, it doesn't. So I'm going to go over to here. I'm going to lift this up off of the pins, and I'm going to lower it one pin. Okay, now this will be different every time for any different application that you're using it on, but okay, now the most important part, make sure that it's backed off and there's slack in the cables. Now let's see if this will fit in there. So let's go ahead, set this under here just like this. Now I'm going to line this up and center everything. Make sure that it looks safe. Okay, now let's put the chainmail around here. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change this to hold. I'm going to go ahead, push the button. And if you watch real closely, you should see it coming down. I'm going to actually pull this aside so you can see it. Okay, now when you hear that, that means that it's starting to, or it's bottomed out. So watch the gauge here. Yeah, we're starting to get a lot of pressure on there, so we know it's on all the way. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn it to return. Pull this away. Now, if I look at my pinion, I've got my bearing on there, and it looks great. So in some cases, you would have a shim behind this pinion here for depth, but that's a whole nother class. So in this case here, this one would be ready to go back in. Thank you very much.